Have you ever said to yourself, if that ever happened to me, I wouldn't survive? I know I did, until it did. Today, I want to remind you of something that we so easily forget in our grief journeys. The hardest day is behind you. Did you hear me? The hardest day is behind you, and you're still here. You are stronger than you think you are. Stick with me today. We're going to dig into this a little bit deeper because I want you to walk away from today's podcast episode with a lighter heart, with a vision for you to see yourself in a different light. If you're grieving the death of your child and you want the steps that lead to believing with confidence that life is still worth living, then you're in the right place. Hello, I'm Teresa, a grief mentor. That's been where you are, and I teach grieving moms like you how to navigate life after child loss. If you're ready to take a step of courage and build a solid foundation to live with hope and purpose, then I'm here to teach you how. Are you ready for what God has for you? Then I'm ready to teach you. The truth is, friend, the hardest day of our life is seared in our memory forever because it was the day that split our life in two. You know, the before and after. What I hope to help you see today, that you are stronger than you think you are. Because I could recount every moment of that day for myself right now as if it happened 10 minutes ago. And I know that you can do the same. But I want to help you see that, friend, if you survived that day, the day that you didn't think you would ever live through, but you did, then there's more to you than you think. We often carry this mindset, whether we've said it out loud or not. If that ever happened to me, I would never survive. Maybe those words came out of your mouth when you were thinking about somebody else's loss. And then suddenly it became your story. You weren't watching someone else's pain from the outside. You were living it. And the very thing that you said would destroy you didn't. It may have crushed your spirit, but it wasn't the end of you. That's what we often miss in our grief journeys, and I want to be able to help you see today. We get so focused on where we are right now in our future because the future looks so hard to us that we forget how far we've come. All throughout history, people have endured unspeakable pain. Survivors of the Holocaust, mothers who have made it through famine, war, loss, and devastation. Not because they were superhuman, by the way, because something deep inside kept them breathing. God made us that way. There's a will to live that He planted in every one of us, and that is because we are made in His image. His breath is in our lungs. And when you hit that darkest moments of your life, that spark did not go completely out. It may have been muffled to a mere flicker. And you may have felt numb, and you may have felt like your heart would stop, but it didn't. We now have this light shining in our hearts, but we ourselves are like fragile clay jars containing this great treasure. This makes it clear that our great power is from God, not from ourselves. 2 Corinthians 4:7, New Living Translation. You didn't survive that moment because you had it all together, did you? You survived that moment because God did not let go of you. He held you when you couldn't hold on to anything. And guess what, friend? He is still holding you now. You're not here today because your grief disappeared. You're here today because you have grit and will to live, even though some days it seems so hard that you don't think you have the strength to keep on going. But if you live through that day, the one that you never thought you would make it through, don't underestimate what you're capable of, friend. This is what I want to help you see today. You've already lived through the worst that could ever happen to a mom. And you made it through that day, not on your own, because of the one that is with you right now. And I want to help you notice something. As we begin to move through our grief journeys, we forget where we have come from. Okay, that's easy for all of us to do. We can go back to the Word of God and we can see example after example of that with the Israelites. Remember when the Israelites were in captivity in Egypt for 400 years. The Hebrew people were in captivity. They were begging God for relief, and God brought it. But when they got into the desert and they realized how hard it was to depend on God, do you know what they told him? Let me go back to slavery. At least there I had food to eat. You see, they were delivered from the worst thing that they had ever lived through. But this new place, they didn't like that either, because it was in those moments that they had to learn a dependence upon God like they had never had to do before. And friend, that's where you are right now. And so as we move through our grief journey, I want to help you see some lighter moments that you have come further than you think you have. When we first walk through that day, we can't see anything, right? It's like we've got those blinders on. Those blinders keep us from seeing anything on our right or our left, because all we can do in that moment is survive what is right in front of us. So this is what I want to help you to see today, because from the moment that happened to where you are right now, maybe you've had little flickers of hope pop into your day. Maybe you noticed that your coffee tasted a little better than it did yesterday. Maybe the sound of someone's laugh didn't sting quite as much as it did yesterday. I remember early in my grief journey when I went back to work, the chatter that I was having to listen to amongst my coworkers when they were complaining about this, that, or the other. And they were so ridiculous to me, the things that they were worrying about, the color of their couch or what they were going to buy at the grocery store for dinner. And they were complaining about this and complaining about that. It was nearly more than I could stand because it was so trivial to me. But then I began to notice over time that I began to have a little more tolerance for that type of conversation. Maybe you didn't cry this morning when you got out of bed. Maybe today, for the first time, you were able to look at a picture and actually feel the warmth of that memory, and maybe you smiled. Maybe you let yourself enjoy something for the very first time without feeling guilty about it. This is the way of grief. You're not forgetting. You're not moving to a different place where they're no longer with you. Okay? That's your spirit beginning to rise, because when you go through what you've been through, your spirit is crushed. That's why the Word of God says that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and He rescues those that are crushed in spirit. But when you stay in the presence of God and you seek Him, even when you can't see Him and even when you can't feel Him, that spirit that He implanted inside of you begins to rise. And that is the breath of God still moving in you, friend, reminding you that you're alive, reminding you that you're loved. And even now, especially now, that He's still with you. It's in those small moments that we begin to see the signs of life returning. And sometimes we push it away because it feels like betrayal of our child. How could I possibly fill in the blank? But what's happening to you, friend, your spirit is starting to rise within you and bring you to a place to where you're no longer just living in that survival mode, and you are actually learning to live again. And you're only capable of doing that because you are walking in step with Him. Those are signs of life returning, not to replace what you lost, but to walk alongside of it. So if today felt maybe even 1 ounce lighter, maybe something actually made you smile without forcing it, Just let it be what it is. Proof that you're still here and proof that God is not finished with your story. I recently saw something online. Actually, I shared it on my Instagram stories. It was Levi Lusko. I don't know if you know his story, but his 5-year-old died during Christmas week. It might have even been Christmas Day. She died of an asthma attack, and before the EMS could get there, her heart stopped beating. And he said something that I thought was profound, and I want to share it with you. In God's sovereignty, He can redeem what He could have prevented. I know that's a deep subject for us to get into right now, but God's sovereignty is something that is very difficult for us to understand. But what we don't realize is that He will take that hard thing and He will redeem it in our lives, because He is not finished with your story yet, friend. You survived the hardest moment of your life, but you're still here. You are resilient. You are stronger than you think you are. You are going to make it. One of the hardest things for us to see in our grief journeys is how far we've come. And sometimes we resist it, because the further the days click off the calendar, the further we feel away from our child's physical presence. But friend, I want to invite you into a different mindset today. You may be further away from their physical presence, but you are getting closer every day to spending eternity with your child. That is not something that you need to forget. That is something that you need to keep in the forefront of your mind. God's not finished with your story yet. What He allowed in your life, He will redeem if you let Him. And that's all I have for you today. So until next time, take care.